Hi everyone, this is Cristian Portilla. Welcome to Meet Them Mondays. I am your host and we are on Jolt Radio. And today I'm very excited to be speaking to you because for the next hour, we'll be speaking with two wonderful people who are a part of the ballroom culture, or as some may know, the Kiki or the Vogue scene. And so our guests today are icon, Father Alexis Lords, and MC host and competitor, Nikki Blaque Mizrahi. And this weekend, on Saturday, July 22nd, at 8 p.m., the Jungle Ball is happening. And this is one of the grandest balls. It's coming to South Florida. And before we get started, I want to give you a little bit of history of ballroom culture. And so, ballroom culture, as we know it, has existed for over 50 years and dates back to the time of the Harlem Renaissance in the 1920s. Ball culture, the house system, the ballroom community, and similar terms describe an underground LGBT subculture in which people walk or compete for trophies and prizes at events known as balls. Some who walk also dance, and others compete in drag genres, and are trying to pass as a gender and social class of status. Most of these participants belong in the ball culture belong to groups known as houses. And today I have Father Alexis, who is a father of the house. And so I wanted to welcome you to Meet Them Mondays.
Thank you.
Welcome, Nikki. So excited to have you. Oh, that's Pepe.
Hey.
Pepe's here. And
Hey, Pepe.
Pepe, our doggy. And so, Alexis, I wanted to begin with your journey and how you started in this community and the space building of this ball scene. You go back all the way to 1994.
Yes. Way back then, the boyfriend that I had at the time, he actually started talking to me about this party that was going to happen. And he started telling me about the function. And back then, I didn't even know none of the terms. So he was telling me about a ball that was going to happen, a competition between houses, and I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? And I've always been very social. I've always known a lot of people. So he was like, well, rent this movie. Back then, the only movie that was actually out about the ballroom scene was called Paris is Burning. Okay. And I went out and I rented a VHS tape of the movie called Paris is Burning. We watched it, myself and a couple of friends. And then we decided to call a bunch of friends together, all of us that used to hang out all the time. And we started watching the VHS tape, and we got very much involved in it, and we decided to actually attend this function. We didn't know what the heck we were going to do. We didn't know exactly nothing that was going to happen, but we decided to copy everything that was happening on the actual video, on the movie. The next step that we did, started talking about was what the heck we were going to call ourselves. After going through so many names, we decided to be called the House of Lords. And it was actually after the real royal courthouse in England.
Okay.
So we named ourselves the House of Lords. We went to compete. The first function we ever competed was a ball that was being thrown by the icon now, JoJo, back then Infinity. He's now what I call my ballroom mother, which is the person that teaches you everything, the one that shows you what everything is all about, the ballroom culture and all that. And I'm honored to say that JoJo Ebony now, he taught me everything that I know about that. We went to the ballroom not knowing what to do. We competed against many houses, and we actually got our tens across the board in a lot of categories.
Nice.
We took that night about I would say 6 trophies, and the rest is history. We're the House of Lords now.
Okay. And so all of this was happening in Miami?
Yes, we started in Miami back in '94. We threw our first ball actually a few months after that function to introduce ourselves to the ballroom. And we've been around since '94. Now we're lucky to have chapters in Orlando. We have also chapters in Costa Rica. And we also in the process of opening up a chapter now in Los Angeles as well.
Nice. Okay. And so since this goes back to 1994.
Yes.
How has
I'm old, I know.
how has the ballroom scene in Miami, how is it compared to other cities, and how do you see it changing, or how has it changed since you started?
Miami is very unique. I will tell you this. Actually, I won't say Miami itself because we're Florida. When we do ballroom culture, we like to identify ourselves by state,
Okay.
and the entire state of Florida is actually belongs to all of us here. The majority of the houses actually back then were concentrated mainly in South Florida. So basically, all the functions used to happen down here. And back then, we only had maybe a handful of houses. We had the House of Righteous Shade, which is where the current mother of the House of Infinity came from. We had the House of Infinity, we had the House of Lords, we had the House of Eccentrica. There was also the House of Aria. There was a few houses that were around. And it was very competitive back then, and we kept it going, we kept it going. Back then, a lot of the balls that were going on, there were only, certain people were only, used to attend. Now it's grown tremendously. We have, our ballroom culture has been spoken on many TV movies. There have been a lot of TV shows about it. RuPaul herself have actually, I don't want to say it this way, but unfortunately I will. She has stolen a lot of our culture. She has taken a lot of our stuff. And I will say the word stolen because we've never gotten credit. Our ballroom culture has never gotten credit. And Madonna took it when she went to Vogue, when she started doing Vogue. RuPaul took it when a lot of their queens now are doing their death drop that we've been doing since 20 years ago.
Okay.
So it has changed quite a bit, and media is thankful. We thank the media for actually helping us grow.
Okay. And when you say we, just to be clear, stolen from who exactly?
All the houses themselves.
Okay, the actual houses.
If a lot of, when art is art, you copy art, but you give credit to art.
Okay.
We've done a lot of things. A lot of the terminology that we use, a lot of the words that we use, a lot of the dancing, a lot of everything that we do have been taken, but nothing have been credited back to us. That's why our culture is still considered very underground.
Yeah. Like when you think about a lot of hip hop videos or artists now, like in the hip hop in the music industry, and you see in videos, a lot of the dance moves that you see come from dances that we incorporate or have done in ballroom. Like Chris Brown even now has done a death drop. So yeah, I think a lot of what we've done has played a huge part in not just the LGBTQ community, but also in, I'm going to say, the heterosexual community.
Thank you, Nikki, for that.
Absolutely.
And so, actually, speaking of these terms and houses and father, I would like to ask you, Alexis, you're a father of a house.
Correct.
You're the father of the House of Lords. Can you educate the listeners on some of these terms and what it means to be a father or a mother? And when did you become a father?
Well, back then, the LGBT community back then, it wasn't as open as it is now. The kids were not accepted by their parents as much as they were. I'm sorry, they're not accepted. They weren't accepted back then as much as they're accepted now. So a lot of kids were actually thrown out of their houses. A lot of kids had problems with their parents. A lot of kids had problems coming out. The role of the father and mother of a house is very much like a biological family. We have our children. The members are called the children. The leaders are called the father and the mother. Father is basically, you have the butch K-man role that actually takes care of his family and all that. Then you have the mother figure, and she does exactly like the mother does. She nurtures the kids. She's more of a more gentle, the more lovable and all that. And I myself, I have the role. Back then, we used to have another mother. Now we have a very legendary mother, very, very well known in the Miami community. Her name is Nikki Lords, and she is one of the top drag queens everywhere. And she has actually taken our house to a higher level that I dreamt about, and it's become a reality. Back then, there was a lot of members that we had, and since myself, I had my own place, and Tipi had her own place, and the first mother of the House of Lords, which was Pepe Lords, we had our own place. A lot of kids used to stay with us when they were having problems with their parents. A lot of kids stayed with us from other houses that actually came over. One of the biggest things that I remember that actually was a very heartbroken thing, emotional thing was when I remember one day opening my door at 4 o'clock in the morning, because somebody was knocking on my door, and when I opened my door, it was a member of the House of Latex. Back then, it was a house from New York, a friend that moved down here, and he was knocking on my door, and his face was all scratched up, and he was bleeding, and when I asked him what was wrong, he actually told me that his own mother had beaten him up.
Wow.
Because he came out to her. And I offer him the only thing that I can offer him. I offer him my couch, and it's like a real home. Yeah, his own biological mother actually threw him out in the middle of the night, and the way in the condition that he was in. So a house basically is not about just the fun and the kiki and the whole shebang. No, a house is truly when its members actually love one another like brothers and sisters. The parents are there for the kids. They show the kids what to do, and like our own legendary mother, she has a lot of kids right now that have actually come out and be some of the best entertainers South Florida have ever seen.
Wow. Do you have some day-to-day roles or responsibilities that you fulfill as a father?
Right now, not as much, because right now, back then, the house was run by the father, 97%.
Okay.
Now, thankfully, a lot of the house functions and a lot of the responsibilities of all that has gone over to Nikki Lords.
Okay, nice. Okay, and I also want to talk about what's happening this Saturday, which is why we're all here. And maybe this is also taking up a lot of your time. But this Saturday is a very big event that's going to South Florida.
Larger than what I expected.
And you and T-Boy Mizrahi
Yes.
are putting on the
My
Jungle
lovable partner.
the Jungle Ball.
Yes.
So I'm really excited to talk about that. And well, tell us what the Jungle Ball is.
The Jungle Ball originally this is actually something that happened. It was a kind of funny thing because we did the first Jungle Ball. We did the first Jungle Ball 19 years ago, and it was actually we went out. We rented this little venue. I am trying to remember the name of it. Somebody reminded me the name of it the other day. La Cage, thank you. It was a little club that was on the 79th Street Causeway, right before you crossed over into Miami Beach. And this club used to be called La Cage. We rented a venue, we threw a function. As a matter of fact, his iconic father,
Nikki.
his iconic father, Andre, which is, I am very proud to say, he's joining us on this function all over again. 19 years ago, he attended our function. He was there with a lot of the houses, and we had a blast on that ball. Well, 19 years later, I saw a Facebook post that T-Boy was getting ready to throw a ball called the Jungle. And I said to him, congratulations, I hope your function is as successful as mine was 19 years ago.
Nice.
Next thing you know, I get a phone call, and he tells me, hey, why don't we partner up for this?
Wow.
I was like, are you for real? And he goes, yeah, let's do it. Let's do the ball. Let's turn it around. Instead of just having a regular Jungle affair, let's do a celebration of the 19th anniversary of the House of Lords, the Jungle Ball.
Wow.
And I said, wow, thank you for the honor. Thank you. We started promoting the function. We started inviting a lot of people over. He started traveling all over the place promoting. I started reaching out to everybody that I knew. And now here we are, 5 days away from the biggest function.
Most anticipated
Yes.
functions of the year.
The most anticipated function South Florida, actually the entire state of Florida, has ever seen.
Wow. So people are coming from all over the nation to come to this
Yes. We have the House of Mizrahi. Their members are coming in full force. We have the Reblons, the Milans, the Landbin, the Infinities, the Ninjas. And please feel free to jump in if I forget anybody else, because I don't want nobody mad at me.
So we have Agas, basically the majority of the top houses in the scene, the cons are coming. So
Yes, I'm very excited to say, and I am sorry for cutting you.
No.
I'm very, very happy to say that the House of Con, they opened up a Florida chapter. So they're making their debut down here in our ballroom down here.
Okay.
And there's also, from what I heard, and then there's also a couple of new houses from the Orlando area the House of Gemini and the House of Valentino, and I'm giving you guys a shout out. They're also making their debut down here.
Nice. Okay, so if you're just tuning in, this is Meet the Mondays on Jolt Radio, and today I am here with Nikki Blaque and Alexis Lords, and we are discussing everything of the voguing scene, the ballroom scene, and this weekend's Jungle Ball. And so Alexis was just telling us about this legendary event. It's basically celebrating its 19th year. Everything comes full circle. And Alexis, so what can people expect? What can attendees expect from this event?
Well, a lot of the people that have never set foot into an actual major grand ball will actually be able to experience it this time around. A lot of the balls, the magnitude of this function, I can only compare it to some of the functions that have happened in New York, in Chicago, in North Carolina, big functions that has never actually happened down here before. A lot of us have tried to actually make the Florida Ballroom as grandeur as a lot of the functions in other states. I'm very, very fortunate that with people like Nikki and with people like all my other ballroom, I will say it's kind of funny to say it this way because we're not rivals, but we call each other because when we step into the runway, we compete against one another.
Right.
But my ballroom's rivals have actually, my outside of the ballroom friends, they have actually helped me promote the functions. They have been so supportive of this that they have spread the word. And so many people has responded that they're coming.
Nice. And so when you reach the status of your magnitude, that you're already a father, you don't compete as much because now you judge. But Nikki,
Yes.
you are a competitor. You are an MC, a
Yes.
host, a all-around performer.
All around performer. I've done the leadership role, mother, godmother of a house before. So, yeah, all around. I'm the all around gal.
I'm so excited about that because I actually found out about you at an event that happened not that long ago, the
Yes.
catwalk event here in Miami.
Yes.
And you were emceeing that. And so since you actively compete and you also are very involved in this, how can you describe these events once you get there as a competitor? Put me in that scene with you. What does it feel like? What's the adrenaline like?
Got it. So I'm going to start with the day of when you are prepping and you know that you're prepping for this big event, and it depends on what you're doing. Even just stepping out and looking good is a task in itself because you want to look your best. Balls, it's almost like the awards of, entertainers. Their award show. It's our award show. And you always want to step out looking your best. So the one thing for me when I attend a ball, especially if I'm competing, is, oh my goodness, I'm nervous. I'm so nervous. And I'm thinking like, well, Beyonce gets nervous too, but I'm nervous, right? And it doesn't go away. And so you have your peers that are amping you on, they're walking too, and that's actually where that mother and father role step in because they may not be competing that night, so they
Have your back.
They have your back, giving you that motivation and encouragement. And so when it's that time, the countdown, you're thinking about your LSS and how fab you want to be doing your LSS. Depends on what you walk.
Give me the definition of an LSS.
Yes.
Yes, on LSS, it's legend, statement, and stars. And those are people who have earned those particular titles by the work, the body of work that they've done in the community. And usually those titles are given based on your tenure and the impact that you may have made in the scene. So that's how the ball opens up. The ball opens up with LSS. And so you're called out, so they would say that knick-knack. And so you come out and you showcase what category you walk. It could be realness, it could be faith, it could be performance, it could be runway, and you're just selling and showing the spectators and also those people that are there why you are being called out. So that's the first thing. You always want to do well. So once you got that out of the way, it's like, whew, I ate it, honey. Yeah. And then you have your category for the night where now you're being judged and you have to get your 10s. So the what you're thinking in that moment is, I hope I get all 10s. Because the option
is the highest.
Well, 10s is meaning, okay, we see it, you can compete.
Okay.
If you get a chop, then that's saying, sorry, baby, thank you for spending that money on that outfit. You look great, but come back next time. Okay. You don't want that. Okay. I came tonight. I want to compete tonight.
I came to slay.
Right, I came to slay. So you want to make sure that you are giving your all during those 10s, because the judges are up there observing you to say, I see it. So that's another nerve-wracking feeling. Once you do your 10s, then you can kind of relax a little bit. You have some people, their thought is, well, I don't want to get processed on the first battle. I want to sit at least one person. So that's the next thing when you're battling against another person who is just as strong in that category, and you know it's like, oh my gosh, I have to compete against the best.
Yes.
So you're nervous all over again.
Yeah.
Right?
When you call, when you actually, when Nikki said, when you sit someone, that's actually our you know, our definition for you actually defeated that person.
Yeah.
Okay. And I actually wanted to just say something, because so the people that are competing belong to different houses. But the definition and the names of these houses, they, from all this research that I've done for this, here we go.
House,
right.
Some of them don't want to join a house. Some of them, they just want to compete very freely on their own. Some of them are actually stepping into the runway for the first time as 007. And when they step into the runway, they actually pledge which house they want to join. Cool. So some of the functions that we have actually had, they actually step in and they said, so-and-so 007 pledging for Miss Rocky, pledging for Lords, pledging for Ninja. And if they do well, if they get their 10s,
right,
then the house parents will actually talk to them and say, okay, we see you, come and join us, you know, come on, and all that.
Nice. Okay. And we're going to be going to a break shortly, but when we get back, I do want to talk about these events, because even though they're fun, there's also a very deep part to this, which is the inclusiveness that we offer the community, and how we promote the spirit of acceptance and really just being your authentic self.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking about that when we get back, and we're gonna go on a short break.
Thank you.
All right.
I love the beats he's playing.
I was like, this is the song. If I were to compete, this is the song that I would be listening to.
You
so
like
I'm
that?
really I keep telling
This
my
could
wife,
be
I'm going
a runway, dude.
This is a runway.
Yeah. I keep telling my wife, I'm like, we are going to, I'm gonna teach myself how to dance and how to vogue and how to walk. I would keep telling her that, because I try at home, but it's just so much fun.
Yeah.
It's so exciting.
Yes, it is. I love it. And it's, you know, you think of it like it's competition, like it's a dance competition.
Yeah.
Cheerleading competition.
Yes.
Right? You belong to a place where you get to showcase the talent.
Yeah. The first time I ever knew that any of this existed, there used to be a club by downtown called Discoteca.
Oh my God!
That's where to go there.
That's where a lot of our kids were recruited.
Our balls were thrown there too.
Yes, and I was at Discoteca with my fake ID, and I remember telling my cousin,
Fake ID, I love
my
it.
fake ID,
Yes.
and I remember going to Discoteca, and it was a sauna. I was dripping sweat, but I remember seeing this, and as a young, impressionable person, where you're in a place, can you just imagine what that feels like?
That's how I felt when I first got exposed.
Yeah, when you go to these clubs, I used to go with a friend Jerry, who we would always go to these places together. Another friend Nisi, and like those times are like here, you know, because you're exposed to the world, you're exposed to life, you're exposed to.
Actually, we recruited. There was, even before Discoteca, there was another club back in the days called On the Waterfront.
Oh, I missed the one. I missed that one.
There was a club called, actually that was the birthplace of the House of Lords, because we recruited so many members right there at that club.
Yeah.
And then Discoteca, in Discoteca, that's why I said that our house is basically a performer house.
Yeah.
Because in Discoteca, Vegas, I don't know if you remember who Vegas
I know
Dion.
who TP Lords is though.
That's TP Lords, Sasha Lords, Calypso Lords, Vegas Dion Lords, all of them. And they're actually making a comeback.
Wow.
They're all coming back.
Yeah.
Vegas is coming back.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my.
And if I tell you what category she's coming for,
oh my God, she's coming to
I'm sorry.
Oh, I love Vegas, yeah, when I just prepared.
Mm-hmm. She was the general manager there. What?
Welcome back to Meet the Mondays on Jolt Radio. I'm your host, Cristian Portilla, and today I'm here with Nikki Blaque and Alexis Lords, who are members of the voguing, the kiki scene, and or the ballroom scene.
Ballroom scene.
The ballroom scene.
I'm a member of both the kiki scene and the
There's so
mainstream
many
ballroom.
terms that I want to put them all in there, but and so this weekend is the legendary the Jungle Ball, and it's actually celebrating its 19th year coming back. And so so Alexis was talking to us about what this means for the community, and Nikki, who's actually an active competitor and MC and host, is also competing on Saturday,
Yes.
which he told me before the show. So I'm very excited. And we were just getting into how this scene and this event, even though it's very fun, promotes a lot of inclusiveness, and it gives a space and a home, a house for LGBTQ people,
Yes.
and a place of belonging. And so Nikki, since you compete and since you're actively in this event and you'll be performing, I kind of wanted to get your perspective of what this scene has given you and how that's been like for you.
Got it. So I will say, well, first my first ballroom experience was in '98 in Atlanta. My gay mother, Brandon Malone, legendary Butch Queen Face, is how I became exposed to ballroom scene. So 1998, my first experience. But I was also in school, and so I wasn't really taking it. It wasn't a priority at the time. And then I moved to Florida in 2001, took a break, and came back into the scene in 2004 here in Florida. And I started to compete, walk different categories, and when I started in Florida, I felt bullied a little bit.
Really?
I did. I felt bullied because
From your own community?
Yeah.
Or?
In the community, in the ballroom, and that's just how I felt.
Okay.
What you learn is that when you are talented and you're good at what you do in your category, you will have those people that want you in their house.
Okay.
And so that's where the term shade comes in.
Yes.
So you'll learn it's not really bullying, it's shade. So they're shading you, and me, I feel still being a little bit impressionable. It impacted me a little bit. And so I started to say, you know what? I want to take a different approach with ballroom. I don't want to just compete. I want to be responsible for breaking up some of that shade and taking out some of that politics and making people feel a little bit more comfortable and just bridging the gap and bringing us all together. And so that's the approach I started to take after a few years of letting them know who I am. And I had that first opportunity I left one of my houses and I joined the House of Infinity because I felt this is a good platform for me to do what I envision. And it just took off from there, from the House of Infinity. Angel Infinity, who I say is my father, he made a big impact by really teaching me on another level, more so on that leadership side, because my mother was more the competing part of it in the beginning, but Angel groomed and helped me to become not only just a talent, but also a leader. So the scene has given me, I would say, strength. I gained strength, and I felt like I overcame an obstacle, and these people actually helped to shape my behavior. So what you learn when you become a part of ballroom is that it really prepares you to be great, and a thick skin is necessary because you can go in the world, and I think this is a great way to prepare us for the real world, because you learn through these people that we deal with in the scene that strength is important and you can gain it and build more confidence. And when someone may shade you, you keep coming back. You keep coming back. For example, I know of people who have been chopped, but they came back better and better every time that they came back. And it actually made them strong. And that confidence, it transfers into your personal life and even your professional life. So it's giving me that. And so I'm giving back what I got.
Yes.
It's the truth, because if you look at the families themselves, the houses themselves, it's like any competitive sport. They coach themselves, they groom the members of their team, parents groom the members of their house. You gotta have that flair, you gotta have that shade, you gotta have what it takes to be able to do it. Because if not, your house will collapse. Mm-hmm. You won't have any members that are fabulous, you won't have any members that will actually bring it. Yeah. Okay? And if you want to compare Nikki, the way when he started to the way he is now, is like
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm excited, and so I don't, hold any thing against my earlier experience, because I like strength. Strength is beautiful. So, and it's very, very important in our scene. So I've been known to help regardless of what house you're in, because what can sometimes happen is, if you're in the house of Mizza, you can't associate or help the House of Milan with their performance or their runway. Mm-hmm. And I was the person who's like, no, I'm helping everybody.
Yeah.
I know how to do this, so I'm going to help everybody. And that's what I did. I actually managed a nightclub where I started to host balls, which is where I started throwing my very first ball. So I had a platform to do that as a host of a nightclub. And upstairs, I said, hey, I'm having a Vogue practice session. Everybody can come, right? I'm having a runway practice session. Everybody can come. And so there are a lot of people that started in like 2008 that I can look at now and say, I am responsible
for that growth.
For that growth and helping to create that platform for these beautiful people, right? And I always stay connected to them, because what has happened now with the newer generation, they are growing and they're extending outside of Florida.
Tremendous.
I want to go to New York and walk. I want to walk in Chicago. I want to go to every place where there is a ball happening, which is what I always encourage. And I see them doing that. And I make sure I stay connected, because the important thing is, as a leader as well, is to say, just stay humble. Because Ballroom can give you a very big platform, and it can create some very big attitudes. And I'm a firm believer in just be humble, and you can still be well respected and well received in the community.
Nice.
And the ballroom scene has actually, what he mentioned, a lot of the kids have, they want to go out and they want to experience what the ballroom scene is. I have been so amazed that lately, even Europe, it has grown tremendously. We've seen some of the best voguers that actually come into the ballroom scene have been from Russia.
Wow.
And I was amazed. I've seen some of these Russian kids voguing like none other. And in Paris, they just recently had, what ball was the one that they had over there?
I think it was an awards ball that they had.
And it was humongous. And they invited some of the ones, they invited some kids from out here.
I've seen some Japan balls.
Oh, yes. They're incredible.
All over now.
I'm very fortunate to say that one of our own South Florida members from the ballroom community of South Florida actually was part of the ballroom in Paris. Also Milan, he was actually out there with the iconic father of the House of Ninja, Javier, and he was there, and they went to compete and they went to represent, and it was an amazing function. That's on my bucket list.
I'm going to.
We gotta do it together.
Yes, I'm down.
And Nikki, do you recall who you were before the ball scene?
So
how were you?
Oh my gosh! So before the ballroom scene, I was a part of what we call gay family.
Okay.
So I'm a Carrington Black, and my mother is Brandon Milan, who's the legendary face, but Brandon Carrington Black. So I was a part of the gay family scene. Didn't know anything about ballroom. I had no idea who I was. I was a dancer. I was a cheerleader, trained dancer, and so a lot of the things that I did was what we call J-setting. So I would go to all these clubs and compete as a J setter, but it was so different. And I was so different because it wasn't the shade like in Ballroom. It was not like that. It was more open. It was more friendly. So I was a very open, very personable, nerdy. I was a little nerdy too.
Nerds are in.
I wasn't as outspoken. I was just totally different. And then came Ballroom, and I was groomed, and I grew. I was a little bit more confident. I was a little bit more bold than I was as pre-Ballroom. Yeah.
It gives you confidence. You're right.
Yeah.
And so this question is for both of you. Alexis, you can go first. But how does your community support you, and what have you seen or lived in your own skin or through friends by being a part of this community? How do you feel supported?
I'm very fortunate to say that a lot of the community down here in South Florida have actually supported Ballroom. Back in the days, a lot of club owners gave us the opportunity to throw the functions at their clubs. A lot of the advertising media actually helped us by promoting without having to pay their advertisement rates. They helped us promoting the functions and all that. So overall it's been a great experience. The community have actually supported us very, very strongly. Also the fact that we have actually gone and stepped not only in the ballroom, we have actually stepped outside of the ballroom with the entertainment and all that. And a lot of my members, for example, are actually doing a lot of entertainment in all the clubs and all that. So overall it's been very supportive. I cannot say that they haven't.
Yeah, I second that as well, and I'd like to add, as it relates to support, that the community, meaning when we have or host a function, we have the spectators that come in. They support us by supporting the event to make it grow, the competition. So when you have those different houses coming out, and they're bringing their members, and those members are competing, and they're giving word-of-mouth advertising, the community supports in that as well. And that's very important for us here in Florida, because Florida sometimes is shaded by what we would consider mainstream, like New York or other places. We're like, I'm not going to Florida, right?
Yeah.
So our scene supports us in saying, no, come, and we're going to go to your state, and we're going to shut some stuff down because, yeah, we're better than your people.
We're bringing the heat.
Right, and we're like, we're from Florida, so they're supporting that aspect as well. So definitely a huge shout out to the community for allowing us to grow by being supportive. That's definitely important here.
And one of the great things also that if the community supports us, we have actually given back to the community, because in a lot of our events, we usually partner up with some of the community health agencies. And through this, we partner ourselves and we allow them to actually reach to a different crowd that normally they wouldn't be able to reach. Because a lot of the health agencies down here, yes, they advertise, for free HIV testing and come and get this, and get condoms and all that, but a lot of people don't go.
Right.
However, during our events, we give them a space so they can actually reach out to the community, talk and all that. And whenever they have asked of us, for example, he was mentioning Angel Camacho, he is Angel Infinity as he's known within the ballroom scene. He works for one of the health agencies. And not only us Lords, but a lot of the other houses as well, we have helped them out, their agencies, when it comes to promoting and when it comes to passing out the word and all that. So it's a give and take situation. They help us out, we help them out, and it's a great community effort that we have done down here in South Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot that happens with Ballroom.
Oh yeah.
Not just the competition part of it, but ensuring awareness happens within our community, educating on things that impact us. So yeah, our community, the ballroom scene is actually really, really great. I love it. I really do.
Yeah, because if you look at it, you grow within a family, and what he mentioned a little while ago, yes, shade, but unfortunately, I have to say it this way, if you cannot take it, you're not meant to be.
Yeah. Seriously, and that's where you build that strength, because the ballroom, I don't want to say it's built on shade, but it's built on shade, right?
Yeah.
And you have to, because when you're competing, you have to develop a certain attitude so that when you do compete, it projects that, hey, I'm competing to win. I'm not competing just to be out here saying I look good. So you do have to develop some type of attitude. But the important thing, what I've always learned from my mother and Angel, is that you leave that attitude and that fierceness on the floor.
On the runway.
But once you're done competing, that's a wrap. And so that's why it's encouraged after you've battled to hug, right? So we try to create an environment or foster an environment where we know, hey, this is friendly competition.
Right.
It's serious while you're doing it, but once you're done, leave it there.
Yeah, and I love what you were saying earlier, how the ball scene bridges and actually brings resources to this community, because resources are abundant, but if you don't have a way of getting them out to the people that need them, then
we miss a group of people.
You miss a group of people.
Yeah.
You miss a group of people. And so I wanted to talk about maybe what are some of the misconceptions, or what are some of the things that people might take for granted or might not understand, maybe some ridiculous things you have heard from the ball scene. And
I'll let you on that.
Well, starting with what things people take for granted, I believe that what we sometimes take for granted in this ballroom community is that the first thing is about building a friendship. We want to build a friendship, and that the reason that the ballroom scene, as I understand, was created was as a platform and a way to be expressive, because in the heterosexual community, LGBTQ community is told you can't do this. You can't express yourself. You can't wear that. You can't be a college graduate. You can't go out and be amongst other people who are operating day to day without being called some type of name. You cannot do that. And so the ballroom scene was that place where we could say, yes, I can be anything that I want to be. And guess what? I'm going to do it. And yes, I can dress like this. Yes, I can express myself. And that key thing, I believe a lot of people take for granted. And they come in and they develop an attitude, but it's the wrong kind of attitude, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, let's remember that we are one, right? And that we are actually supposed to be supporting each other, and that when we compete, it's only for that moment, and outside of that, let's still support each other. Let's be, great, and let's uplift, and let's build, because we have a community that tells us, no, we can't.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest things that I've seen about the ballroom community down here in Florida is the fact that a lot of us, we actually, even though we compete and we're very, very competitive towards one another, when it comes to outside of the function, like he said, we leave it on the runway, and as you can see, we both belong to two different houses, yet we laugh, we kiki, enjoy ourselves, and we have fun. Yeah. We have fun. It's not like, oh, yeah, Ms. Arahi, get out of here.
Right. Exactly, right? As some people unfortunately do. And so I like, what Alexis pointed out. Yeah, we are here. There's a genuine love and excitement, as it should be. And there are people out there that have relationships with members outside of their house. You don't always have to just be gung-ho friendly with only members inside of your house outside of the scene. But you want to send that message and let it be shown. Let people see that, so that people on the outside looking in won't get the perception, oh, I have to be this way, or I have to be that way. Because, there has been people who will try to steer you in the direction. No, you can't talk to them.
Yeah. And not only that, but in the LGBTQ community, a lot of us face adversity all the time. So you want to find a place that's a haven for you, where you feel loved and respected and honored.
And that's exactly what we actually, we aim to do in the ballroom community, because you can be, when you step into the runway, you can be anybody you want. You can dream about whoever you want. You can be the most fabulous person in your head, and you can put something, and when you walk down that runway, you're giving yourself life. Everybody's giving yourself life, and for the 5, 10, 15 minutes that you're doing this, you're the best, most grandeur person in the world. And that's what we try to make you feel like. You know, you don't have to spend, you know, $1,000, $5,000 or anything like that to look as fabulous as they are. When you step into the ballroom, if you want to bring it like exactly like we're telling you to bring it, you're going to be fabulous. You're going to enjoy yourselves, and we're going to give you the life that you deserve when you step out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things about this culture is that there's a bit of mystery to it, and it's very underground.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, once you know, but you have to know.
Right.
To know. You know what I mean?
I do.
You were a catwalk.
Yes.
Okay, a catwalk. It was kind of funny because I was judging.
Yes.
Nikki was the commentator, and unfortunately, a lot of the kids that they came to bring it, they were trying to bring it in a way that they didn't know.
Right.
It's not their fault. They have never been groomed. They have never been taught properly, and that's where you got. That's where you saw a lot of that chop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a right way to do ballroom, right? And there is that mystery out there. And so what's important to me, you know, that night when some of the chops were happening, it was important for me to have a separate conversation because I believe that the only way you can build a scene is that, okay, when you notice someone is coming in for the first time and they don't know, they get chopped, and they're like, oh, I'm not doing this no more.
Yeah.
You want to have a conversation. Here's why you got chopped. You know, next time this is what you need to do. Or have you thought about this category?
Right.
Right? Because sometimes they're coming out for stuff that they believe, oh, I can walk that, because they don't know.
Right. And for some of us that don't know, and to kind of like do away with a little bit of that mystery,
Mm-hmm.
how can listeners or the everyday person become more involved in the scene and participate?
Well, think about what's available now. Back then, when us old timers were around, we didn't have no media.
For 20 more years.
We actually didn't have no media, nothing to look at. Like I mentioned previously when we were watching, the only thing we had back then, going back over and over, was Pearsburg.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, if you want to learn how to do something, go to YouTube.
Yep. Ballroom
There's
Throwbacks.
so many. Yes.
Is a YouTube, what I call it, a channel where they can
And
go
Ballroom
to.
Throwback is going to be at the Jungle.
Yeah, so if you look at
They're
Ballroom
coming.
Throwbacks, they record all balls, all categories, so you can actually see and hopefully identify, oh, I fit in there, I could do that. And or once, I would say, once you see something that you feel that you could do, to connect with the person in the ballroom scene and say, hey, I saw this category, what do you think about that?
And just come out and get involved.
Yeah, you can learn how to do things actually by watching. You got YouTube now, you got videos now, you got movies now. There's so many things now that can come out. And like Nikki mentioned, I can give you a couple of kids, for example, that I am hoping they will set foot in the Jungle this weekend, because those kids were amazing, but yet they were not properly trained, and they're not part of any house. They're 007.
Mm-hmm.
The one that walked out at the very beginning, that she had the outfit. Yes, the
I know
real
exactly
slim
what you're talking
one
about, with the long hair.
Yes,
Yes,
she was.
honey.
Oh, she brought it. She brought it. Unfortunately,
She's
the
on the wrong
wrong way for the category, but she was bringing it. And there was a couple of kids that were very, very, they were very good
Yep.
bringing it for the categories. And like Nikki said, a lot of kids, when we stepped out of our roles, like there was a couple of times that I would tell as a judge, I would tell them, listen, I'm sorry, I chopped you, nothing personal, don't take it personal. Come back.
Yeah.
Come back.
Yeah.
And there's other kids from other houses that I have spoken to, and there's one member in particular I don't want to mention, and I don't want to bring his name out, but he got very disappointed at one of our functions recently because he was being used to walking the category and getting tense constantly. He came out for this category, he got chopped, so his attitude was like, no, I don't want to do this any longer, they don't like me any longer. And I'm like, no, on the contrary, bring it back even stronger.
Yeah.
You don't want to be said, okay, you got chopped, you got defeated, now I'm not coming back anymore. That's defeat.
Right, and not only that, but like you said, it grooms you, and this also translates a lot into life. And so we have 5 minutes left, but I did want to make sure that we get all of the details for this Saturday, for the Jungle Ball.
Oh.
So this is the big one. And for anyone who hasn't been, to a ball, for anyone who hasn't participated, for listeners out there that want to get involved, come out on Saturday. And so Alexis, tell us all the details about what this is going to be like.
Listen, we have categories right now. One of the biggest things that we have actually managed to do, myself and Pete, preparing this function, is be able to reward those that are bringing the talent. We got categories that we're giving cash prizes of $1,000 per category.
Wow.
Okay, we have best dressed spectator, which is $1,000. You come exactly how we want you to look, and you can walk away with $1,000 in your pocket. How easy is that? We have categories like the schoolboy category. Schoolboy, you bring it looking, you talk about how you're supposed to talk, you look how you're supposed to look. You can walk away with another $1,000 if you wanted to. We have also the runway categories. Runway categories are some of the most spectacular categories at any function. Those categories sometimes can last up to 30 minutes in one single category.
Wow.
That's another $1,000 there, right there. We got the twisters versus the sisters. And that's $500 right there. We got female figures.
So
Okay.
there's a lot of categories.
We have, I will tell you this, myself and T-Boy have $4,400
Ready.
cash on hand ready to give out at the function.
Wow.
So anybody, not only the house members, not only the 007s, if you're confident enough and you read what the category is supposed to bring it to the function, bring it to the runway, show us what you can do. And you never know.
Bring it to
An unknown person can actually walk away with all that cash.
Yeah. And
Bring it to the hangar.
Yes.
And doors open at 8 p.m. Judges called out at 9 p.m. The opening show, 9:10 to 9:20. LSS, 9:20 to 10. And the best LSS I heard is $100.
Oh.
Yes, the best. That's another one. The best person that walks, legends, statements, and stars. The best one that gets the crowd reaction going. That's another $100 right
And
there.
tickets are how much to get in?
$30 at the door.
Okay.
There is no pre-sale. We're doing everything at the door.
Okay, perfect.
And I will divulge one very, very thing that I'm very excited about.
Ooh, the exclusive? And that Monday?
Well, I will tell you, one of the most, I would say, legendary, iconic shows that you will ever see is the opening of this ball. My mother, T.P. Lords, my house mother, T.P. Lords, alongside two of my daughters, Calypso Lords and Sasha Lords, are doing a number. I don't want to divulge what it is. I don't want to say what it is because it's going to be an amazing surprise. They are going to be opening up the ball for the LSS to begin.
Okay.
And you don't want to miss this.
And how can people stay in touch? Where is your social media?
Well, the event page that we have is actually where we've been posting all the information.
On Facebook?
T-Boy, Ms. Rahi, and iconic father Alexis Lords present the jungle. You can look at it in Facebook. You can search me in Facebook and see all the posts that I do related to this. All of us have been posting. Nikki has been helping us promote
I'll have it
all of
linked
this.
on my website.
Yes, please. And it's going to be an amazing function. We're telling everybody, please arrive on time, because that's one of the things about Ballroom. We never start on time.
And how can people stay in touch with you on social media?
Yes, so on Facebook, Nikki, K-I, Blaque, B-L-A-Q-U-E. That's Facebook. Also, Instagram, that, Nick, N-I-C, Nack, N-A-C-K.
And I'll be sure to link all of this information on ROAM, R-O-A-M, Free Rights, W-R-I-T-E-S. Nikki, Alexis, thank you so much for being
Pleasure.
on with them.
Thank you for having us.
On Jolt Radio. So excited. And hopefully listeners will see you out there on Saturday. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. Ciao. Bye
Awesome.
Yay!
now.
And I'll leave you this one's over here.
Thank you so much.
This was
music
fun.
on or no?
Oh my
Is
God,
the
I
music
can't.
on at the end or
What?
no?
No. What was it? You didn't.
It's the same one as
And
The one that you sent me last time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's always
He
gonna
actually
be
went
the
through
That's
the
the one that.
Ulysses
Okay.
is watching. I'm like,
Hopefully you enjoy.
What else? Thank you so much. That was so
thank you,
exciting.
thank you.
We got so into the thick of it, and it was like time flew by.
I didn't even notice. I was thinking all along. I was gonna be like, what are we gonna talk for about an hour? And it's like,
Oh.
it just flew naturally.
What? We went all over this list. It was so amazing, and I'm so excited. And hopefully, you know, we're still live on Facebook, but we can invite everyone to come out.
We're live on Facebook.
We're still live on
saying what I
Facebook.
was saying. I'm going to say, oh, I'm going to get them.
OMG. Oh, because they can hear.